Army Corporal Nicholas Avanitis, Army Specialist Nicholas Bernier, Marine Private First Class Matthew Bertolino, Army Specialist Derek Bilodeau, Marine Lance Corporal Adam Brooks, Army Sergeant Alan Burgess, Marine Corporal Philip Chart, Army Specialist Jesse Conger, Army Specialist Michael Cook, Jr., Army Private First Class Nicholas Cornier, Army Second Lieutenant Matthew Kotu, Army Private First Class Nicholas Conoyer, Army Second Lieutenant Matthew Kutu, Marine Private First Class Eric Courier, Marine Staff Sergeant Charles Dane, Army Specialist Mark Dakota, Army Ranger First Lieutenant Paul DeMio, Army Major James Dennehy, Army Ranger Captain Douglas DeCenzo, Army Corporal Scott Diamond, Army Sergeant Russell Durgan, Army Master Sergeant Richard Ferguson, Marine Lance Corporal Demetrios Gavrio, Marine Lance Corporal Michael Geary, Marine Corporal Timothy Gibson, Army Sergeant Daniel Giannett, Army Ranger Captain Jonathan Grasbar, Air National Guard Technical Sergeant David Jinden, Army Specialist Seth Happanen, Navy SEAL Nathan Hardy, Navy SEAL Daniel Healy, West Point Cadet Peter Todd Hoikling, Army National Guard Specialist Dana Hirth, Army Ranger Captain Sean Hogan, New Hampshire Army National Guard Specialist Jeremiah Holmes, Army Specialist Christopher Journo, Army Specialist Adam Kuligowski,
Army Staff Sergeant Edmund Lowe, Army Sergeant Angelo Lozada, Jr., Army Sergeant John Lyons, Marine Lance Corporal Ryan McCaw, Army Private First Class Justin McDaniel, Army Specialist Ryan McDermott, Army Major Brian Mescal, Marine Lance Corporal Robert Marcillo, Marine Staff Sergeant Stephen Murphy, Army Ranger Sergeant Andrew Nicole, Army Sergeant Toby Olson, Marine Corporal Michael Willett, Army Specialist Justin Pellerin, Air Force Master Sergeant David Poirier, Marine Corporal Jonathan Porto, Army Sergeant Jeremy Rainier, Army Private First Class George Rail, Jr., Army Private Chipper Rogers, Army Specialist Justin Rollins, Army Sergeant First Class Robert Rooney, Army Sergeant Randy Rosenberg, Marine Sergeant Michael Roy, Army Ranger Sergeant First Class Ryan Savard, Army Corporal Matthew Schneider, Army Staff Sergeant Donald Smith, Marine Lance Corporal Peter P.J. Sora, Jr., Army Corporal Matthew Stanley, Army Specialist David Stelmack, Army Private First Class Andrew Stevens, Army Sergeant Zachary Tellier, Army Chief Warrant Officer Chris Thibodeau, Army Specialist William Tracy, Army Ranger Master Sergeant Jared Van Alst, Marine Corporal Kyle Vandergeisen, Army Green Beret Staff Sergeant Kyle Warren, Army Specialist Matthew Woods.